Hello YouTube, and welcome to another edition of Rob's Arcade. As per usual, I'm your host Rob. Now I've been on a bit of a classic cartoon kick lately, and I've been watching a ton of old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Stuff like the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, and one of my personal favorites, the Jetsons. Now while I was binge watching a ton of episodes of the Jetsons, I kind of realized something that I never realized before. Now I'll get to that momentarily, but in the meantime, for all my Player 2s who have never seen the Jetsons, here's a little bit of backstory on this animated classic.
The Jetsons is an animated sitcom that revolves around the adventures of the Jetson family, a middle-class family of four who live in Orbit City. Meet George Jetson, the patriarch of the family who, in addition to being a bumbling but lovable family man, also works a full-time job at Spacely Space Sprockets. He is constantly antagonized by his boss, Cosmo S. Spacely, who feels he can get George to do whatever he wants by dangling a promotion in his face, which usually leads to hijinks. Jane, his wife, is an even-tempered homemaker who provides a bit of stability to the often chaotic Jetson household. Their daughter, Judy, is a fun-loving teenager whose greatest concern is her social life. Elroy Jetson is the youngest member of the family. This brilliant, outgoing little fella is your typical kid who enjoys things like TV superheroes and playing spaceball. Astro is the family dog who adores George, but doesn't appear to possess an ounce of courage. This clumsy and gentle talking dog is constantly running away from dangerous situations. Lastly is Rosie, the sassy robot maid who keeps the house in order, and I'm not just talking about cleaning. Despite all of the science fiction overtones, the Jetsons at its core is a typical family sitcom. The wacky characters and situations depicted in the show are humorous yet extremely relatable. It's also pretty cool to see how the show from 1962 managed to predict the inventions of things that we use in 2022. For example, the Jetsons were able to watch TV on their watches, and now we have smartwatches that do the same thing and more. The Jetsons also had big screen TVs and video chat, which we also have in modern times. Heck, we even have robot vacuums just like they did in 2062. No flying cars yet, but hopefully that happens soon because that would be awesome. Now, speaking of 2062, let's talk a bit about the conclusion I came to earlier. If the Jetsons took place in 2062 and George Jetson is 40 years old, if you do the math, it'll show that George Jetson was born in 2022. So, in honor of his birthday, on this episode we'll be drawing George Jetson. The fun doesn't stop here, Player 2s, because after that, we're going to spend some time playing the Jetsons Invasion of the Planet Pirates on Super Nintendo. But before we get to all of that, let's check our supplies and make sure we have everything we need to start the art class.
Okay, Player 2s, it's time to get started drawing George Jetson. We're going to use the same process we always use. Step 1, guideline step. Press very lightly with your pencils. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle. Excuse me, Player 2s. Inside that circle, we're going to draw a little curved guideline right here. After that, we're going to draw a diagonal line down here and a diagonal line down here. Again, these are just guidelines. We're going to go over these with details along the way. The next step, we're going to draw another guideline right here. We're going to signify where the eyes are going to go. Then we're going to draw a little small guideline here to signify where his hair is going to go. That's where his hairline would be. Next step, starting where these two lines intersect, we're going to draw a straight line out to here, and we're going to curve it, and we're going to connect it right up here like this. Then, starting where this meets, we're going to draw a slightly curved line, another slightly curved line, add a little upside down letter U right there. I'm going to draw another curved line, a little upside down letter V right there, a curve here, and then we're going to add another curve right here. So you can see the image is starting to form. We now have his nose and his mouth. Next step after that, starting where the nose ends right here, we're going to just follow that around and then bring it down right to about here. Right underneath the nose where this guideline meets, we're going to draw a little slight diagonal line ending right about a little bit above where the lip is, and then we're going to bring it down, 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 down here. So as you can see, now we have his nose and his mouth. Since we have our guidelines right here, we're going to draw one oval here and another oval right here. So there we have his eyes. Inside these ovals, we're going to draw two smaller ovals for his eyeballs and a little curve right about there just for a little added detail. Eyebrows right above this. We're going to have to move this hairline a little bit up. Over here, a little bit underneath where this guideline for the eyes ends, we're going to draw a curve. Actually, we'll just draw it a little bit. Make it a little bit easier on my player twos. And starting right about here, again where the hairline would be, we're going to draw a curve. Over here, we're going to draw another curve. This curve is going to go along here. We're going to take it up a little bit to about maybe halfway between the nose and where the nose ends. We're going to bring it around. And then we're going to bring it down here. We add his little cowlick right here, which is just upside down letter J. A little curve right there. And there we have George Jetson's head. We're going to add a couple more little details underneath his head for his collar. Then after that, we're going to ink over this whole thing. Then we're going to have a completed image. So the first thing we're going to do down here is we're going to draw a letter B. Where the letter B starts, we're going to draw a straight line. We're going to draw a straight line here. And then we're going to just kind of add a slight curve right over here. Then if we need to, we can extend this down. He has kind of a stiff triangular collar, so that's what we're drawing right now. We're going to draw a line down there. We're just going to add a little curve here. We're going to draw a line down here to about there. A little bit of a line down here, just to kind of signify where his shoulder would actually be. And 3 thick straight lines. Right about there. I'm going to get a little upside down letter V with a little curve at the end, so it's kind of like a letter U. And there we have step 1. We have just drawn George Jetson. Now we're going to take our black felt tip pen or black magic marker and we're going to ink over only the necessary lines, only the lines we need. So these guidelines in the middle, we're going to end up erasing those when we get to our final step. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go over his eyebrows. Again, if I'm going too fast, as I always say, feel free to pause the video, rewind the video, do whatever you need to do to keep up. I know I move kind of fast, but all my player twos all move at a different rate. And that's okay. Some people are fast, some people are slow. As long as you can absorb the lesson and actually enjoy what you're doing, that's all that really matters. Or side, and his nose. Now, funny thing about George Jetson,
is that there have been lots of different versions of the Jetsons over the years. They keep the original design, but everybody likes to add a little tweak to it every here and there. Sometimes his nose is pointier, sometimes his nose is rounder, sometimes his nose is closer to his eyes, sometimes his facial features are more exaggerated. The George Jetson we're doing right now is pretty much just the classic version. So we're going to go over here to there. We're here again, since we have guidelines here, we're just going to go over what we need. So we're just going to do the curve right there. Follow the shape of his hairline. A little cowlick. We'll go over little details down here. His shoulder. Close that up. The rest of his collar. This little shape right here just adds a little bit of depth to his collar. Over his little details right there. And one final step, this little thing on his face, I think that's just to signify stubble. And there you have it, Player 2s. We've just drawn George Jetson step by step. I hope all my Player 2s had as much fun drawing this as I did, and I can't wait until the next episode.
On this episode of the Classic Game Showcase, we're going back to the past to play a game about the future as we check out the Jetsons' Invasion of the Planet Pirates for the Super Nintendo. Released in 1994 by Taito exclusively for the Super Nintendo, this title attempted to capture the spirit of what made the animated series so much fun. But does this game succeed? Well, yes and no. The game starts with a very lengthy intro in which the superhero Captain Zoom informs George Jetson that Zora, the leader of a group of space pirates, is planning on looting the entire solar system. Captain Zoom recruits George to help stop her and gives him a device known as the Pneumo-Osmotic Precipitator, or POP for short. This vacuum-type device gives George the ability to do things like scale walls and hang from ceilings, as well as grab objects and even breathe underwater. The POP will come in handy as George must go through 9 stages of intergalactic action before taking on Zora herself. The Jetsons plays like a typical platformer of this time period. Players control George as he must battle enemies and jump over obstacles before reaching a boss battle at the end of each level. What makes this game different from similar games is George's ability to use the POP, which is a blessing as well as a curse. The POP is very helpful in some cases, but the awkwardness of using it in wonky controls will frustrate even the most experienced gamers. On a brighter note, this game really shines in the graphics department. The large, colorful sprites are well animated and do a nice job of replicating the animated series on a 16-bit gaming system. The developers of this game managed to do a decent job taking a sitcom about a futuristic family and turning it into a passable action platformer, but unfortunately, the flawed gameplay and high difficulty makes this game a bit of a tough sell. This title has never been ported to any modern systems, so the only way to play this is on the Super Nintendo as originally intended, but I can only recommend this game to hardcore fans of the original source material. If you have an old Super Nintendo and you're a fan of classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons, I highly recommend checking out the Flintstones, The Treasure of Sierra Madrock instead. You won't be disappointed. Till next time.
And that's a wrap on another edition of Rob's Arcade. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to help this channel grow. Also be sure to follow Rob's Arcade at the social media links listed in the description below. Now as far as the next episode goes, my player 2s are going to love this one because the topic of the next episode is another famous superhero. But not just any superhero. This guy can be described as someone who is spectacular and amazing. I can't wait, player 2s. Until then, keep drawing, and I'll see you all next time at Rob's Arcade.